So yes, this is potential spoilers. I've written it in the thumbnail. I've written it in the title. I'm going to say it again. Please do go away if you don't want elimination spoilers. If you're like me and it got spoiled anyway, now you want to talk about it, let's go. Because Chris Featherstone, I believe Dr. Chris Featherstone, who works for Sportskeeda in some sense, and who has got some of these things right before, again, like anybody that puts things out there, their record is, well, I'm just talking genuinely here, sometimes they get home runs and sometimes they don't. Who knows what people's sources are or how many things are going to happen, they change at the last minute. It's not something we talk on about a lot here. However, given when it did reach my eyes, whatever that means, it triggered my brain. I was like, well, I've seen about it now. And again, I'll make sure that anybody that doesn't want to know, and if this does pop on your feed, well, it's completely blind, right? You'd never be able to know what we're talking about unless you did click in. So now it is on you. I've given you plenty of time. He has said that apparently at the moment, as of me talking to you, as of words coming out of my mouth, the winner of the Men's Elimination Chamber 2025 is going to be none other than Drew McIntyre. Now, nobody had that down in their predictions. I know this because, again, I go watch other people's stuff. I know what I've been saying, and I've seen the betting odds, and Drew is rock bottom. So, of course, we could get to Saturday night, and it could be somebody totally else. I wouldn't put too much stock in this. However, because I like to fantasy book, and because I like my brain to go on flights of fancy, there is some logic here, and it actually ties into some stuff Drew himself has been saying, and I just said it accidentally. I used the words rock bottom. Maybe that is the connection, because I think we all agree The Rock has to not sell his soul, has to take somebody's soul, like Bart Simpson and Milhouse. Nobody thinks it's going to be Cody Rhodes, because that would be way too soon to turn him heel. Then, of course, we jump to CM Punk, but then rightfully some have gone, well, that doesn't kind of make sense either, because he's a bit of a loner, and when he does turn heel, there's so many other options, why do it now? And other people even thrown John Cena into the mix. Now, I'm sure John Cena can do whatever the flub he wants to do, but I do think there is a beauty, to use words we shouldn't use, and a poeticness, which isn't even a word, I don't think, to John Cena never turning heel. And again, you can make the argument he was a heel in 2012 and 13 and 14 because people were booing him anyway. But I also think you're fighting against the fans. And while we all like twists and swerves, nobody wants to boo John Cena right now. We love him. He's reached that upper echelon where we're just so happy for all the years he did give us. Just swim upstream. If that's what the crowd wants to do, give it to them. Allow him to be a superhero. And also his catchphrase at the moment is, you know, the last time, never give up. Kids, come on, believe in yourself. I just don't think we need to do it. Don't mind if we do. Think it'd be super duper interesting and it makes for good content. So when you start going through the rest of the field, you're not going to do Damian Priest. Please, for the love of everything, don't do Logan Paul. Also, The Rock doesn't like Logan Paul. You can Google it right now and find out. And it does leave Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre's cutting an interview the other day, I believe with Inside the Ropes, and he starts talking about Danny Garcia, who is The Rock's ex-wife, but his now business partner with $7 Productions, and saying how when he was the chosen one back when he was 22, 23, the Rock clan, whatever word you want to use, saw a lot in Drew McIntyre, and they've always been there for him, and they've been talking ever since, even when he went to Hollywood. And let's not forget, when Drew McIntyre re-signed his contract last year, it was really weird, but who presented it to him? It was Dwayne Johnson, it was The Rock. Now, at the time, it kind of felt like, all right, The Rock's joined the board, and we're just trying to sort of make that clear now. He's not just a wrestler, he's acting in a bigger position, whatever words you want to use, and maybe somebody had gone, I know what we can do, and we've retroactively gotten to this point. And while nobody had Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre on their bingo card, there are a couple of things here. One, when it kind of came out it could be Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest, there was a big reaction from the internet wrestling community. Shout out to Oscar, who is the greatest person in the world. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. And then there was another rumor, and again, this is when you start to connect the dots, or we may just be making things up. Either it's totally fine that WWE had seen said reaction, was like, all right, we're going to change some ideas here, and we're going to go to a different direction. Now, I think that's totally unfair on Damian Priest, who I think had a great 2024 and should be in a huge match in 2025. But Drew McIntyre can win thanks to selling his soul to The Rock. I mean, that would probably mean The Rock has to get involved in the Elimination Chamber, but maybe not. Maybe there's ways and means you can do this, and then you can do Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE title at WrestleMania. I mean, if we're basing things off performance levels, like the England football team, soccer team for my American friends, sometimes the argument is, why are we calling so-and-so up because they're a star? We should be picking on form. If you're going to be booking on form, Drew McIntyre should be in a prominent position in 2025's WrestleMania. He was one of the standout stars of 2024. He had the feud of the year. He was promo of the year in so many awards. He put himself on such a plane, on such a pedestal that I don't think, people will because that's what we do, but nobody should be complaining if he gets that spot. And of course, then you go, but I thought it was meant to be CM Punk versus John Cena. That's not what I meant. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. There are so many things we can do. That is why we are blessed with what has landed in our plate, because you could do Cody Rhodes, I get confused with my names, Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre versus John Cena. You could just put Drew McIntyre in there and then he can take the pin and then John Cena can be like, oh my gosh, I never got my 17th World Championship. Then you do it again in December. You could even have it between now and then. Drew McIntyre becomes the champion. He waves it in John Cena's face like, ha ha ha, and Drew McIntyre is the guy he beats in December. That's totally fine. Drew McIntyre would be perfect at that role, and knowing that Drew is a mega fan, I'm pretty sure he'd be happy, like, I'm John Cena's last match, let me go do the dance of joy. So it opens that door. But if somebody then decides, you know what, we're just going to do Drew versus Cody, you can do CM Punk versus John Cena. It is right there. All of a sudden, we move John Cena into this weird position where he is like the biggest star, but we can't actually move him into a world title picture. Who doesn't want to see CM Punk versus John Cena? You know you're going to get what does John Cena say? Fine speech before he eviscerates someone. There's only a few people that can take that. CM Punk is one of them, and he will come back with, you should have done that to me, Johnny boy, and he will kick his ass verbally too. And then you can do Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, which of course is a feud 11 years in the making. Finishing off that program at WrestleMania is exactly what we should be doing, and we planted extra seeds in WrestleMania 40, which Seth Rollins was talking about on Raw recently, and he was like, I tried to help you, Cody. Don't make me hate you too. And this should appease lots of people, because we did a video about this last week. There was so much hate all of a sudden for WrestleMania 41, which I found a little bit strange, but people wanted singles matches. Well, all of a sudden, these triple threats that were thrown out there would float away. It wouldn't be CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. CM Punk can move into his John Cena match. You get Roman versus Seth, and you get Drew versus Cody. And actually, that sounds pretty damn tremendous to me. I wouldn't get mad about that. I wouldn't get mad if we did both triple threats. So you do Roman versus Seth versus Punk night 1, and then you do, I'm getting confused again, Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, John Cena night 2. I don't mind triple threats, especially because I'm a nerd and I like to look at it from a personal point of view, and it's good that everybody gets to be featured on the WrestleMania card. I've got a video coming out next week, small PSA. I'm actually not here next week, so I've sort of made a bunch of content that of course will be out of date because wrestling moves so far, so I do apologize for that. But I've made a video sort of booking an insane WrestleMania 41 card, and it's still great. And that's me just pulling stuff out my rectum because I thought it sounded good based on the reality and the stories that we do have. So I'm actually way down for Drew McIntyre winning. And while I have made many predictions for WrestleMania, I actually think there could be worth at the show and moving forward from doing each 3 of those singles matches. And John Cena versus CM Punk is something I wanted to see one last time. But once again, I didn't know where we factored it in if we were going to go so hard with John Cena going for his 17th title, but then that can be the story. So when I went through the Elimination Chamber, again, did that predictions video on Monday, I was like, well, Drew and Damian can take themselves out for obvious reasons. And then originally I thought Seth Rollins and CM Punk could fall into it, and that would get rid of them. But now you can go the other way around. Maybe Roman Reigns is there, or however the flub you want to do it. But all of a sudden, it could be CM Punk and John Cena that start to beef, and CM Punk takes out John Cena, or John Cena takes out CM Punk. And much like we do in the Royal Rumble, we sort of plant those seeds, to use that term again, in order to justify why they want to fight at WrestleMania. And there's no doubt we're going to have crazy amounts of star power. What the flub main events night 1 is going to become a backstage political game. I mean, you could pull the card and say, well, Jey Uso should main event night 1 because he's going to win the world championship. And then that way you kind of negate whatever CM Punk and John Cena and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins are going to do. It's like, well, none of you are getting it. So you may as well pick a different number. But I don't know whether we would do that. And also we have to figure out what the ramifications are going to be, because I think Seth Rollins should beat Roman Reigns. I think Seth Rollins is in that position where he needs a big victory in order to sort of shift him on to what he's going to do next. It certainly feels like he's going to be active more than Roman, which I'm totally fine with. Roman Reigns more than earned rest or days off, whatever you want to call it. But then, does he start going after a championship? Does Cody move to Raw? Is Cody still the champion? What does Drew do if he does lose? Because he's had his WWE title shot. And can WrestleMania 41 really close with a heel winning? We don't often do that. And then, does John Cena beat CM Punk? Does CM Punk beat John Cena? That could be the biggest what the flub is going to happen here match ever in terms of jeopardy, because I don't think you want John Cena losing to CM Punk, but I don't think you want CM Punk losing to John Cena. Is that when CM Punk calls his Paul Heyman favour in? Then all of a sudden he comes out the back of that a bit more heelish, and he goes after a champion, be that a Jey Uso or a Cody Rhodes. Like if all of a sudden he's walking on the bad side, he can go after either of those belts. But there's another argument you can have as we continue to ask questions but never answer them. If we are going to give a belt to a super duper babyface like Jey Uso, can we take it off Cody just to keep that balance and make sure we're telling different stories on Raw and SmackDown? Because I mean, this was out there as well the last couple of days, that even people internally in WWE are like, SmackDown ain't as good as it used to be. And it's not. We've still got ups and downs. Make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, and please do subscribe to me. Makes me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. But that extra hour has just dragged things out. And look, if you feel differently, that's perfectly cool. You're winning. It's meant to be an entertainment show. But I don't think it's as compelling as it used to be. And I think a lot of stuff is just like, man, we've added an extra 20 minutes here because we've got to get 20 minutes from somewhere. It's why I love the Unhinged Rock promo. It went on for like 28 minutes. I was like, yeah, but at least it's interesting. It's totally crazy, but I pulled over. I was driving home. We talked about this. I pulled over to watch it, so there must be some magic in the veins. The reason I think Drew McIntyre will probably have to win is you can't sell your soul and then not become the WWE champion. And also, it's The Rock. And not in my wildest dreams I'd ever see a world where The Rock and Drew McIntyre would be some weird partnership, some weird team. Again, how does that tie into WrestleMania 42 or a SummerSlam? Is The Rock going to fight? Is he never going to wrestle again? I just don't know. And again, while we're talking about it, it does sound a bit pie in the skies. If you're rolling your eyes now, Simon, you sound like a nerd on the internet. I am a nerd on the internet. It's been this way for around about a decade. There's nothing I can do about it. But I do think it sounds fun. And once again, this kind of ties into Oscar's internet rants, which are so wonderful and so lovely. That is ultimately all I want to do. I just want to enjoy wrestling for what it is. Even when it's crap, does it really matter? No, we can laugh at it. We can enjoy it in that respect too. And then we can move on to something else. There was a mad conversation. I won't name names. You'll know what or who it is if, like me, you like to sort of take in as much media as possible, with people being like, oh, there's way more botches now because we plan more matches. I'm like, you can't possibly think that's true. There's always been botches. I don't even like the term botch. People make mistakes because they're human beings, not because we have too many plans or not enough plans. It's always going to happen. That's why we call it high risk, because you're taking a risk. Sometimes you fall on your ass. Sometimes you go do springboards. I did a match in progress the other day. I'll try and get a clip in here, although I don't actually think I have any clips. And it was a top rope challenge match. You can only win with a move off the top rope. It did tie into a story. I won't bore you with it now. I can't do anything off the top rope. I'm terrible. So I proceeded to do the worst splashes of all time. But my gut feeling was, well, as long as I make them entertaining, people will realize you're not very good at that, Simon. But I knew, right? It's like you're inviting the audience to agree with you. And I think it went down a treat. Like, it was a little bit goofy. Surprise, surprise. Of course I would do that. But I just think approaching it in that way made it much more fun for the audience. And that's all that matters. Remember when AJ Styles went to do the phenomenal forearm and he tripped and he turned it into a massive storyline? Or at LA Knight when he was Eli Drake, whatever the flub his tier name was, and he went to celebrate on the ropes and he fell in, and then he made sure he did it again later in the match to pretend, oh, I meant to do it. That's what wrestling is all about. And I just think it can be crap, and that's fine. It can be great, and that's brilliant, obviously. But if we're going to get this much content, try new things. If you want to have Drew McIntyre win the Elimination Chamber and team up with The Rock to sell his soul, just flip and do it. I mean, it does make sense. It's not like it's a Vince McMahon story where you're like, well, where the flub did that come from? Drew has been talking for 2 years. This place sucks, and everyone's trying to screw me over, and I'm done with it. So from now on, I'm going to do whatever I have to do in order to get to the top. And I just like Drew McIntyre. I think he's a wonderful professional wrestler, and even though he did get plenty of credit in 2024, he could certainly get more. That rhymes, so it must be true. He should be moved into that tippity top position, and he should stay there. If that means beating Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41, let's do it. And if we just stick to everything else we've talked about, that's cool too. This is the real reason I'm excited about WrestleMania 41, because I think you can come up with around about 42 cards, and every single one is brilliant. We may even get Nia Jax versus Trish Stratus. I mean, you probably won't, but that could be there, quite literally on the cards, so I'm a fan. Now, if you have stuck with me through all of this, it's just a yes or no for the comments, right? And again, if you've been spoiled, I gave you like 45 seconds at the start of this, so don't get mad at me. But in the comments, just write, well, put the question maybe, or just put a yes or a no. It'd be quite funny. If people are like, what are these weird comments? Does Drew McIntyre win the Elimination Chamber? So you can whack a yes down there, you can whack a no down there, you can whack Simon, you bald idiot, I hate you, which is weird. Why did you watch till this point? You could have left it any time. But I love all this. I love the fantasy booking. I love the craziness. I love not knowing. I love being being on my tippity toes because, again, it's there as the distraction. And the world is pretty crap right now in many ways. So to have that distraction and be able to, once again, enjoy the most important of the least important things and just switch off that other side of your brain, that's what it's all about. And that's why I send love to all of you, no matter what your opinions or feelings towards me are. Otherwise, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Again, leave that comment, yes or no, nice and simple. Hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, hit the video on the screen, which are my real Elimination Chamber predictions that are out of date 4 days later. That's how crazy the wrestling world is. Otherwise, go to grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon. It's 30% off certain pre-workouts at the moment. They're the best. Otherwise, I wouldn't pimp this to you. Otherwise, find me on social media, Simon316. Go watch all my matches on Progress Demand, Demand Progress, or Triller, right? You can find me, you can laugh at me, go, Simon, you're crap at wrestling, and we can have a good old time with that as well. Otherwise, there's Cameo, there's prowrestlingtees.com/Simon Miller. Just search for my name and I'll be there, or it's all in the description below. But I genuinely appreciate all of this. I love talking about it with you, which is why I was like, okay, it got spoiled for me, but at least I'm blessed to have this platform to share it with anybody else that got spoiled too. So we found the positives, my friends, and we always will. I'll see you soon.